Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I am Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And both of us are feeling the pressure of time restraints and travel right now.
Yes, we
and
are.
This is Hacking Your Health podcast. This is Hacking Your Health podcast as well, just in case you wonder where you find yourself.
Unless you're tuning in and you're like, why am I listening to this? It's Hacking Your Health.
It's travel show. So yeah, what's going on, man? How has your week been? I'm so confused on what day it is, where we're at. But anyway, how's your week been?
It's been good. Training has been solid. I did a lot of travel. So I was in, obviously with you in Nashville and the folks with the BC Fam crew and the We Hack Health crew. So that was a lot of fun. I got to bunker up in a Airbnb and hang out. I got to be grandpa one of the nights where I was like, hey, but I don't know if you were, I think you were sleeping.
I was sound asleep. I didn't know until the next day.
Oh, I went downstairs and I'm like, can you guys be quiet? They were so loud, but it's all right. I mean, they were having a good time and there's nothing wrong with that. And, but I was like, I need to get my sleep in. So I was the grandpa. I'm like, hey guys, can you keep it down a little bit?
I did not have a fucking clue.
I don't know how you stayed awake. They were so loud. Like they were just like screaming and having a good time. But that's a great thing. I'm super happy they were having an awesome time. And that was an amazing event with a lot of crew. But came back from there, then flew out to Austin, Texas, where I got to lift at the Onnit gym. So if you're familiar with the Total Human supplements brand, they have a gym in Austin, Texas, right next to their headquarters. Like literally their headquarters is like right here. Then you have like the Onnit place here. And then they have another place that's like a cold plunge / sauna place and everything else right next to it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't get a chance. I didn't have time.
Oh, you didn't get a chance to do the cold plunge? How unfortunate.
Oh, man, yes. My schedule is so busy.
God damn.
But it was awesome to go lift there and see where they do all the recordings and stuff. You see a lot of the videos on it, and that's where they do the recordings at. So it was really cool and enjoyed my time. It was awesome. And I'm back now, and I fly out tonight for Brussels, and I will be seeing you there tomorrow and have some good times. What about you? How are you doing?
I am doing good. I also had a lot of travel, obviously in Nashville, which I think we'll talk a bit more in depth about sort of as we progress through the podcast. But I had a lot of travel. I was obviously in Nashville, flew into London, was there for a day, caught up with two of my friends that are both called Johnny, went for lunch for one, went for dinner with the other. And then I was at Matt's very first Optimized Coach event, which was really cool to see because obviously, Matt's been on the podcast, like we speak every day, like I saw the birth almost of the Optimized Coach and what he's been able to create with that. And it was cool for him to sort of put everybody together and put everybody in the one room and sort of bring them together. And similar sort of idea to what we did and went there for dinner and stuff like that. So it was cool to be able to be a part of that as well. Then I got back. It was the weekend and that's Monday and I literally leave in less than 2 hours. So yeah,
that's going to be fun.
We're going to Brussels tomorrow. But yeah, everything's good. I don't have any complaints. Managed to get all my training in. Actually managed to spend 10 to 12 days in the US and come back 4 pounds later, which I think is an achievement.
How's that even happen?
It's magic. It's black magic.
Black magic.
No, it's actually probably a big part about what I want to talk about today. And I know that you're sort of on board with this because we sort of had the conversation before we went away. And I think the biggest thing that I want to get across is one of the biggest issues, and you're the same, I'm sure you hear it too, is that people face or say they face whenever it comes to any sort of health and fitness or fat loss or muscle building or any sort of journey that involves training and nutrition is how much travel fucks up their schedule.
Yeah.
And I sort of said before I went away, I want to actually be able to prove a point in my time away. So I had it sort of planned out with James. I'd obviously been in quite a severe deficit up until the week before. The goal was to run maintenance calories for time away. Side note, I'm still on maintenance calories for us in Brussels, so that's a positive for sure. And then sort of see how it could be navigated with travel, with being in a totally different country halfway across the world, with working, with hosting an event, with going to events, with being surrounded by food, alcohol, having a good time, and everybody enjoying themselves. Could it actually be done? And I mean, I think I pretty much nailed it.
That's awesome.
The biggest thing for me was I wanted to, I guess, prove a point to myself as well, because I'll hold my hand up. Like, I am the person that as soon as I step off a plane in a different country, I just enter dickhead mode and I'm just surrounded by calories and I just automatically put on weight because I'm away and I'm like, oh, this is shiny and this has bacon in it and that's a cookie, and I just eat everything. Whereas I wanted to do things slightly differently. This time around, I think sort of giving tips on how I navigated that and how you also navigated it too, and how it doesn't always need to be doom and gloom in a fat loss journey, and how you can enjoy social events and how you can travel for work and still make progress regardless of what you're doing or where you're doing it in the world.
Yeah, and I think the travel stuff is always interesting. I mean, I've had a 2-year break essentially from travel, which has been really good for me to, home in my macros, what I'm eating from a food perspective, and doing very minimal travel. If you've listened to the podcast, I've done some, vacations and things like that, but really the whole busy travel schedule thing really hasn't hit me much. And it's the past the last month or so, and going into this next month has been nonstop travel. I've been to a number of different places. I went to New York, Austin, Nashville, going to Brussels, and I got to go to Michigan and then South Dakota and then Vegas and then Virginia. So I have all this travel stuff going on, and I think that we've had discussions on how to plan travel and how to plan your things, but when you're really thrusted into the busy lifestyle of travel, there's a lot of considerations that you really have to make. I mean, going to Brussels, I pre-packed yesterday, all my supplements, extra protein. I got my front pocket of my bag is all full of, by the way, I packed extra Anabars for you. They're the milk chocolate Reese's Pieces Anabars. They are delicious.
The mustard cookie one?
Yes, it is
nice.
Delicious. It is delicious. You haven't had them yet, right?
No. So they only come out. I got the email before you did when we were in the.
You did. That's right. I ordered like 10 boxes when I were there, but they are delicious. It's actually probably one of the best Anabars they've ever made. But just planning that, and it's like the first thing. Like when I get through TSA and security, I usually have like 30 minutes before I'm boarding. I'll go to the local stores and try to find liquid protein that I can get. Just so I can make sure that I'm getting what I need to be and kind of balance it and don't eat all the crap that they give you on the plane. So I really try to balance that. And even when I was in Austin, I'd wake up, I'd try to find a good source of protein that I could eat for breakfast. I ate, like for the breakfast, the one day I had, egg white omelet with spinach and, turkey bacon and or turkey sausage. And I had, I stayed away from, kind of like the hash browns and stuff like that, had some wheat toast and some fruit, and that just really trying to keep in order what I'm eating as I'm out there and making sure I hit my goals. And what's been great is, I've actually dropped pounds as well. So, today I'm in the 230 range, which is still great. Or not 230, but I'm in the 238 range, which is great. So dropping weight, as anticipated, as we expected, because I'm able to count my macros and keep everything going. So it's that travel schedule you just have to be careful of, because again, you're surrounded with calories all the time. Having the discipline to, really still stay on track with it, I think is equally important.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is travel can be easily used as an excuse where people are like, oh, I'm traveling, so whatever the reason is, or whatever, insert comment here about how they can't make progress or track their calories or how they went over their calories or whatever. But I think this is where the true test of discipline comes in, because once you're in the habit, whenever you're at home, of what foods you like, how to hit your calories throughout the day, when you're doing your training and everything's fine, it's easy to be disciplined in those situations. But whenever you're, number one, in a different country, number two, surrounded by other people, and number three, sort of just thrown out that you have to sort of eat on the go, that's whenever it can really become a challenge. And even exactly what you're saying there in terms of like egg white omelet and having those for breakfast. There was a couple of times that we were out for breakfast in both Ohio and in Nashville where I was like, I fucking could nail these breakfast tacos. And they were like 950 calories. And yes, I could have had them, but it would have screwed me over for the rest of the day. And I would have almost like been swimming upstream. Whereas I made a better option of having something that was like 300 or 400 calories, just an egg white omelet. It was still delicious. I still got to eat out with everybody and there was zero issues. And it's just about making that better choice and having that discipline earlier on in the day, so that later on you have that sort of leeway with whatever's going on, being able to go out for a burger, being able to have a couple of margaritas, being able to have fucking crickets with your tequila whenever Daniel sends it over to you. That I'm still not over. But I think that the most important part is sort of looking at your travel schedule and thinking, okay, number one, where am I not going to be in control? Like, where am I potentially going to be out for dinner with either clients or with work or whatever, that I'm potentially not going to be fully in control of that meal, and how can I navigate around it? And number two, how can I sort of use the days of travel to bank calories? So one of the things that I did whenever I left, so I left Dublin on Tuesday morning. I hadn't eaten, obviously, before, because I left the house at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Got down to Dublin, flight was at 11 o'clock, didn't eat in the airport, didn't eat the fucking stupid airplane food, hadn't eaten the whole time until I saw you and we went and got chicken wings. So I hadn't eaten in, I'm going to say 24 hours, but it's probably an additional 5 hours as well, almost 30 hours. Which sort of allowed me to do whatever I wanted whenever we got there. We had chicken wings, we had a beer, that was fine. So navigating that and not eating the airplane food because they give it to you, like they look at you like you're crazy whenever you say no. And I did the same on the way back. I just was like, oh, there's nothing here that I want. I can't imagine it's the greatest quality of food. So that was the first point that I sort of got into. Then the next day, we went to Orange Theory.
Which was fun, by the way.
Which was fun, by the way.
You did great.
It was definitely much better than the first time that I did it. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, you did way better. You did way better at cardio than
I survived. I did not die. Fun is a bit of a stretch, but I enjoyed feeling like I had progressed since the last time. So I can see how that can become steady addictive. Then we hooked up with Ran. We went out for breakfast. Didn't have the breakfast tacos, had the egg with omelette. That was fine. We fluffed about all day, really, to be honest. We went to Trusted Tech. We then went and trained, and then you cooked some good steaks, some ribs, some potatoes that were definitely higher in calories. But I had that allowance there because I'd sort of pulled back on breakfast.
Yeah.
And then I sort of knew the days to come would be slightly higher in calories because we would all be together. Everybody would be excited and whatever else. So sort of pulled back again on calories with travel on the Thursday morning. Didn't really eat during the day on Thursday. And actually one thing that I was really proud of was whenever we all went out for dinner on the Thursday night, everybody really tried to manage their calories well. And I think I don't know whether it was because I was there or because they were surrounded by people who were doing the same thing. But you know, there was everything on the menu from burgers or like super high calorie pastas or whatever. But the majority of people got a decent protein source and some veg or salad or whatever.
Double meats, double steak.
Double steak, yeah.
Double steak.
And they all managed it pretty well. It was good to sort of see that thought process, and people were okay to not necessarily order specifically off the menu, okay to change things, okay to ask for extra this or less of that to sort of fit in line with their goals. So that was good for me to see. Then on the Friday morning, I took control and cooked breakfast, which was a fucking shit show trying to do 16 people's breakfast, but shout out to everybody that helped me. But again, that gave me the control in terms of I knew exactly what we were eating. I knew exactly what they needed for sort of 2 hard sessions throughout the day. Throughout that day, I didn't really eat anything. I had an banana bar before we trained, and then I think I had a protein shake after that. Then we went out to Top Golf, and I knew already what we were having because I set the menu, which was majority chicken and brisket based, and then some mac and cheese. So I knew what I was getting myself in for. We also had some drinks, which was absolutely fine because it was accounted for. Saturday, didn't eat any breakfast because I knew I wasn't going to be training that day. We all went there for lunch in the middle of the training session. And then Saturday night, we went there for a burger. So I sort of knew that was coming, and that was probably going to be quite high in calories. So I was able to navigate it quite well. And then a couple of days after, I was just able to navigate because everybody had left. I was by myself. I went out for dinner with Daniel a couple of nights. And it was all easily managed, but it just took me a bit of like preparation and forward thinking as to, okay, right, these days I'm not going to be in control because we're going to be out. These days I can be in control. I can pull back on calories. And yes, okay, because my calories are set at 2,600 doesn't necessarily mean I need to eat 2,600 every day. If I eat 2,000 one day, it allows me to eat 3,200 the next day and balance it out throughout the week. So that's sort of how I navigated things. Did the same on travel on the way back because I knew I was going out for 2 meals. Made better choices at breakfast. Knew I was going to Sticks and Sushi in London, which is one of my favorite places to eat, and there was no way I was going to be able to control the calories in that. So enjoyed my time there. Friday, again, travel, train up first thing. Didn't eat until lunchtime. Matt had put on lunch for everybody. Again, made some pretty good choices. I didn't know what was happening for dinner that night. But him and the whole crew were out for dinner, and we went to pretty much an all-you-can-eat Brazilian steakhouse where you have a red card and a green card, and you flip it over, and then you just come out with meat on swords until you.
So like Fogo de Chao or something like that.
Yeah, it's for Fernanza or something it was called.
Okay.
But yeah, it was the same sort of that one that we spoke about that we both went to in Rio. It was delicious, but they weren't really paying attention to the car because I could see some people had a red and they were just like cutting the steak off, and I was like, I can get on board with this. Like I probably had about a kilo's worth of steak, but it was good. And then obviously Saturday it then was I travel back, and obviously been in control of the food because I've been in the house. So that's the update in terms of how I navigated and how I managed. I also was aware that there would be higher output in terms of how to do Orange Theory. I knew you and I would do more training. I knew there would be more training for the clients and the team because I had the sessions planned and the intensity would be increased. So I knew they would have a bit more buffer with calories. And then I knew I would get my cardio and my steps in, on the other side of the event. So it was all pretty well controlled, just with a bit of forward planning as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's the way to handle it when you're going through and taking a look at, hey, you're going to have a big meal that night or a couple nights later, banking calories and trying to, keep yourself kind of within a finite balance of what you're doing. And even when you're, going out to dinner, picking things that make sense, having a nice steak with, some asparagus, maybe you leave the buttery potatoes and things like that, on the wayside, or obviously dessert and stuff to that effect. If you do have it, next day, get right back on the train and try to eat less on that front to, keep within your caloric intake. So, it's just a constant battle that I think you went through. But hitting on the training aspects of things, I think it was really awesome to see everybody come in, to Nashville and come together. You had built out 4 different training blocks for 4 different groups, and they kind of interchanged those 2 days. We spent, I think, 6.5, 7 hours each day in the gym, which was an intense amount of time in the gym, by the way. That's the first time I think I've essentially camped overnight in a gym before, but got to be friends with everybody there.
You were a great assistant coach in the time that you worked in Redcom with me over the weekend. So good job on that front.
Thank you very much. I wore that title very proudly, and I appreciate you letting me help the folks out with everything. And it was good to go through the different groups and see, where each person was at and where they were struggling with or what they needed additional access to, or, things that you could tweak to help them out. It was a lot of fun. And, as great as, you could tell, like everybody was exhausted by the end of day 2, including us, including you specifically. But
it's funny because just to sort of catch everybody up as to what the fuck we're talking about. So the last time we did an in-person event, we did it in Ohio, and the way it was structured was basically I did 2 days coaching, which basically everybody just got an hour's coaching session 1-to-1, which was good. And that was absolutely fine. But I think, for people who are traveling and flying in, I think to give more value, there's better ways to do it. So, I give full credit to James. Whenever I went to his event, he had everybody split into groups. And I was like, this makes a lot more sense in terms of people will be together for the entire time. They can get 4 workouts done across 2 days, and then I can just go between each group. I will say coaching 12, 13 people for, like you said, 7 hours is intense. So yes, I was fucking exhausted by the end of it, but it was a really good experience. And I think from the feedback of people who were in Ohio and the same people who were in Nashville, they definitely enjoyed that setup a bit more. So the way that we structured it was basically got everybody in to go in the groups. There was 2 groups of 4 and 2 groups of 3. And basically I just assigned what they were doing in terms of sessions. So I had programmed an upper body push session, an upper body pull session, a core and arm session, and a leg session. And they basically just ran through them. So some people started on legs, which I don't know if it was the best choice at the time. I thought it was the best choice because I was like, well, that's out of the way. But then I think come the end of the second day, the energy levels maybe weren't there. So I don't know necessarily which was the best order. But they basically all ran through all 4 sessions. We sort of covered everything that they needed to do at the start, and knew that both Dave and I would be sort of running about the gym to make sure that they were okay, that they knew what they were doing, that they were getting what we needed them to get from each session. And then obviously Ram was running about taking photos and taking video too, which I think will be some excellent content once we get it back. But
Ryan is incredible, by the way. Man, oh man, he is great at what he does.
Yeah. And
I think he took the best picture of my life.
See, he showed me, so we were in your gym and he showed me it, and I was like, Dave's going to be so fucking delighted with that photo.
Dude, it's such a good, like, the lighting, the angle, the muscle definition, like right in the middle. It was like the most perfect picture I've ever seen of me in my entire life. I'm like, but why can't I look like that all the time? You know?
I think that's an important point to note, because generally whenever I speak to clients who come on board, and maybe you'll be able to relate to this from before, like, generally don't like photos or avoid photos of themselves altogether because they don't like what they see. They avoid mirrors. They don't really like how they look. So for you to be able to see a photo of yourself and go, fucking hell, that's actually me.
That's
like,
awesome. That's me.
It's a big, exactly. I think it's a big achievement. And I think that'll be one good thing of having Ryan actually there, because obviously he knows the angles, he captures the moment, and the stuff that he'll be able to produce back for you and for everybody else. Like, I think it'll be well worthwhile bringing him. And I think one of the big benefits of having him there the entire time was there was no sort of awkwardness with the camera. There was no like hesitation. Like, he was just there with us. It wasn't as if he was coming out externally and coming in to be a photographer or videographer. He was just with us the whole time. He's just like it was just like me if I had the camera. So I think that was a big aspect of sort of making everybody feel comfortable. I definitely think that he will be with us every time we do one of those events, which will be cool to have, because it'll be cool to have all the content and stuff.
Well, I'll say, I've mentioned this before on the podcast. My biggest fear is like going into a gym and having video recording and attention put on us when you have like, these massive bodybuilders and probably like famous people and stuff like that. Like, why are these guys having, a camera crew? Yeah. No, with computer folks, it's like in a different world. I've never been recognized for being the guy on the TV that's a computer nerd. So, it's that stigma of like going into a gym and, like having everybody's attention. I'll tell you, this time around, I didn't have that at all. I felt perfectly comfortable, perfectly fine. Didn't want to run out of the gym like I did last time.
So for anybody who has not heard that story, I think that was such a hilarious contrast seeing you in that situation, because the night before, like, I can't remember what news, whatever fucking news channel you had to be on. You had to go and we're on the news live. Zero issues, just go in, do it, get it done, and then leave. And then we went to the bar or something. And then the very next day, you're in the gym and you're like so shy, so conscious of all these other people. I'm like, what the fuck? Who is this guy?
Yeah, I have no problems going on. Yeah, I have no problems going on national news, speaking in front of 1,000 people. That's zero issue for me whatsoever. Going to a gym with a video recorder, other people like, who the hell are these guys? That terrifies the hell out of me. But I will say again, I don't know if it was the culture at the gym, but everybody was super nice at Redcon. It wasn't we went to the Redcon 1 gym in Nashville. It wasn't, it was so big and spacious too. So you weren't like crammed in with other people. I thought, it was really well received with the folks there. It wasn't an issue. And, it was, I think I enjoyed my entire time while I was there. So it was no problems for me.
Yeah. I think probably one of the things that I sort of thought after, like, if you think about Redcon as a brand and what they do with their athletes and stuff like that, there probably is a lot of that goes on in that gym. They're in and they're recording their content for Instagram or YouTube or whatever the fuck they're doing. Like, so I can imagine that they're probably used to it. So seeing somebody with a camera is probably like, I know Ryan got a lot of questions as to what are you doing, and when we were in game turmoil and stuff. But like, I think in terms of the gym, they're probably used to seeing it. So it's not a massive issue. But yeah, I definitely think that was there was a big difference between Dave in Ohio in old school Iron or Iron Religion or whatever you call that gym, and Dave in Redcon 1. So that was a big progression for you. But the same way, well, I have no issue with Ryan recording me in a gym. If you put me on the fucking news, it's a different story altogether. So we also have our strengths and our weaknesses. So it's
Well, I think that the cool part that I thought was really awesome about the whole thing, for one, the camaraderie, everybody promoting one another, building those friendships. It was the after events too that I think was really cool. Going to Top Golf and being able to hang with one another, knowing that we just had a really exhausting day, or going to that restaurant beforehand, or going to that awesome arcade place, that had like literally all the old 80s nostalgia, video games and pinball machines and things like that. So, those types of group events, I think, really build that community up. And that's a testament to what you've done, to really get everybody there and really build something really unique and special. And that was really cool to be a part of, to see, the progress of everybody first and foremost, and different stages of progress, right? Because we're all in different stages. We're all, in different areas. And, like Boyd, for example, boys started getting a little competitive with me, and he's like, I'm going to do this. It was like an ab crunch, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to. I'm like, boy, you're going to be able to do it. Like you're only adding 25 more pounds, and you did that no problem. Like you're going to kill it. And he goes and he does it. And I think he PR'd on a bench press, and a bunch of other stuff. So it's just giving people the confidence to push themselves, but also being in a group setting that's positive and really trying to get people motivated to go and do that. And I think when you look at your health journeys, and we've talked about tribes before in the past, but having a tribe that is there for you in different regards in life around physical fitness or your friendships, things like that, it motivates you to be even better and to help that tribe and to participate with that tribe and to help that tribe be successful. And I think that you really accomplished that with the crew out there, because everybody was really awesome to work with, and really trying to promote one another, and again live healthy lifestyles and have a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, we had a couple beers, but it wasn't anything excessive. Because we knew we had to do the same thing the next day, and so it was just a great thing. I think I was in bed by 10:30 or 11 each night. It was an awesome experience. It was great.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I sort of picked up on was obviously a big part of what we do is based around the community. And yes, it is the wider community, it is the client community, and then it is, the people who attend in real life events. And I think one thing that I necessarily didn't think of when we spoke about the Airbnb, because obviously the last time everybody stayed in hotels and that was fine. And it was like, okay, I'm going to go back to the hotel and then I'll meet you here and whatever else. And whoever mentioned the Airbnb, like, I think that completely transformed everybody's experience, because you were with that person or with those people, sleeping in the same room, in the same groups whenever you're training. Everybody was with each other the entire time. And I think that really solidified the sort of depth of people's relationships. And, there's a couple of things that I overheard, and even Ram pointed out as well, like, he does a lot of, what they do is focus on, the fitness industry and coaches. So they do a lot of events. And it's like the usual event where, it's a big conference room, everybody's sitting around, the white tablecloths, and it's very formal and whatever else. But there's never really the depth of what we were able to create by sort of putting everybody together for a weekend.
Yeah.
The depths of conversations that people were able to have, maybe a space that they aren't usually able to have those conversations because they're, they have to wear a certain hat whenever they're at home or they're in work or whatever else. And sort of getting everybody together that, the BC fam chat and the weekly calls are as active as ever. So it's people who sort of know each other already, and sort of putting a name to the face. And as you sort of said, a name to the Discord, or a face to the Discord name actually. But as you sort of said, seeing the progress from the people who were there in April to the people here now, and then obviously planning ahead, I think it's cool to be able to see that in real life, because you sort of see it happen yourself, and you sort of see it, gradually people like, Mike, for example, or Todd, for example, constantly posting how on it he is and whatever else. And then I saw him in real life. I was like, holy shit. I was like, what the fuck have we created here, Todd? What the fuck's going on?
Well, one thing to say about Todd is, his delts look amazing. His shoulders are getting much more defined. Like his transition and progress around this has been amazing. Kev Cody, again, super athletic looking build, fit, muscular. Again, it's really cool to see the progress of everybody as they've come along and started to have a lot of success with it. And, again, it's cool to see that, from August to, previously before and whatever, it's just, it's transformational. It's really awesome to be able to say, dude, nice job. Congratulations. You look great.
And I think as well, the majority of the guys train by themselves. So two things. Number one, they don't necessarily recognize their strengths. So Rob said, it's like, I didn't realize I had strong shoulders until I was in this group and everybody told me I had strong shoulders, because he obviously just is progressing at his own rate.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have a comparison, which is kind of good, because, we don't generally talk about comparison, but he's nothing really to compare himself to. So, being in a group of two other people who are training, they're like, fucking hell, your shoulders are so strong. It's obviously a good confidence booster to show everybody's on the right track. So it's good on that front. It's good on the front of having a bit of friendly competition to see how far you can actually push. And then also, feeling comfortable that you have a spot there in case, whatever it is that they can pull you out of it, push you out of it, whatever direction you need to get out of it. So to sort of know exactly what you're capable of in those environments is great to see as well. But I do think definitely moving forward, we will have an Airbnb set up that everybody's in the one place for the 3, 4, or 5 days, however long it is. And yes, I have started planning the next ones. I was asked before everybody had even left, when's the next one? I was like, give me 5 fucking minutes to get over this one.
It's funny because like I remember I used to play on DerbyCon, and like DerbyCon would end, and then I'd start playing again for DerbyCon. I'm like, I just finished this. I need some time.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good to see that people want to continue on, and like
do you have any sneak peeks of possible locations?
Yeah, I already know. I've already told you.
I know. I'm just going to tell anybody else.
Give everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell anybody else. We'll wait until. What we'll do is I'll get Ryan to put an announcement video together with the content for the next one, and we'll put it out. So we'll create a bit of hyper in it, so everybody who's listening will know. We'll know.
Yeah.
Can't give it all away straight away.
It's gonna be exciting that's in Cleveland, Ohio again. Just
I'm so excited to go to Orange Theory again. I can't wait. But yeah, one of the other things that I want to say about this sort of tribe thing, and it's funny just because of the way that it happened back to back. Community tribe, something that we speak about so much, and being able to be in that position to be in the Airbnb with all of you guys was really cool. But on the flip side of that, being able to be in it in Matt's event and be a part of it and be like within the tribe, and him as the putting it together was again a good contrast to sort of show him and I are both in line in terms of what we believe works in terms of community and being able to progress as a team, as a whole sort of entity. So it was cool to sort of see the contrast in that one as well.
Sorry for that. Did you hear a ding ding?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Good.
Well, I did whenever you said ding ding.
No, I think
one of the other points that I wanted to touch on as well. Like I had a pretty in-depth conversation with Dinner Johnny on Thursday night. These two guys are guys that I went to school with, like grew up with, and they moved to London like 10 years ago maybe. And anytime I'm in London, I always try and catch up with either of them or both of them. And then it was just an interesting timing conversation. And we were talking about how our own sort of natural inhibitions hold us back in certain events. So like I would count myself as quite an introverted person. Obviously I can't really be that whenever I'm hosting an event. But if I'm at an event, I'll always like pull back. I'm like, if there's a certain amount of people, I'm okay. Anything past like 3 people, I'll just sort of start to be smaller. Yeah. And the narrative of the conversation was sort of like, how much are we holding ourselves back in fully experiencing what the event is by sort of not going all in on it? And then the very next day at Matt's event, he was like, I know how these events run. Not really anybody knows each other. Everybody doesn't want to feel like a dick. They sort of pull back and they don't really get the full experience. I was like, listen to my conversation last night. So we did, he was like, I want everybody to get up. We're going to lie on the ground and we're going to do some Wim Hof breath work. Again, interesting that Matt and I hadn't spoken about that. Obviously, Sean did breath work with us on Friday morning. Matt did a breath work session. But that sort of introduction, he was like, everybody feels weird now. I'm going to make you feel even more weird to sort of break that narrative. And then everybody sort of at the tables felt more comfortable with each other. So it was cool to sort of see both of us on the same page without really fully discussing the details. And then for the rest of the day, I was like, I was all in for whatever was going on.
Yeah.
And it was a much
barriers down.
Yeah, it was a much better experience. And, obviously I'm going to go to my first conference this week. So I'm just going to have to fucking go all in on that one as well, whatever the fuck's going to happen in Brussels. But yeah, I think a good sort of point to note is like, how much do you hold yourself back from fully experiencing whatever sort of event or whatever sort of thing that you're at by the own shit that you tell yourself in your head?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I get into the same thing. Everybody expects me to be this, social butterfly because I'm on the news or I speak in front of audiences. I tell you, when I start getting in front of a lot of people and it's a social thing where I'm communicating, I actually shut down and I'm actually very much an introvert on everything. I just, it's how I've always been. It's, I'm a good faker in front of people. And then when you get me, together, with a bunch of people, I'm socially awkward in many cases because this is how I am. So, I've learned the skills of presenting and things like that and being able to overcome those. But when it comes to actually social events and having to interact with other people that I don't know or I'm not as comfortable with, I just, kind of shut down a bit. And so I think, again, overcoming those. And it was the same way at first with even the BC fam crew that was all coming in, I was kind of, reserved and didn't talk a lot and was kind of, back then. And we all start to get together and start to realize, hey, we're all here together and we're all, good folks and stuff like that. I open up quite a bit, but I think it just takes a little bit of time to get used to that, get used to people and kind of really become yourself when you're doing it. And, that those group settings, I think, help with those types of situations where you're able to really kind of talk normal like a human being. And I think a lot of us haven't talked normal like human beings in quite a while because of COVID and everything else, you know, and we're so used to our families and things like that. And that's just it. Our small circles, expanding it out is definitely a good thing.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I sort of always relate it to is in an event like Nashville, where I'm hosting the event, I wouldn't say it's faking it, but it's like the show. And what I mean by that is like, I have to perform to a certain level because I'm hosting the event. And I always relate it back to whenever I used to work behind the bar. The bar was my space. So I felt comfortable in it. And there was a physical bar in front of me, so I could be whoever I wanted to be to the customer on the other side. The same whenever I worked in the gym floor, the gym was my space. So I felt comfortable sort of navigating or narrating whatever it was that I needed to do. The same with the event. It was me hosting the event, so it was my space.
Yeah.
But then when I went to Matt's event, I was like, oh shit, I'm on the other side now. And what sort of person do I need to be? Like, how do I navigate this? And I ended up just saying, fuck it, doing the breath work, and then was friends with everybody around the table by the end of it. So it's just a funny way you deal with it. I guess that's probably what you're talking about, you know, learning how to navigate specific situations and the person you are whenever you're on the news and things like that, and what that has to sort of look like. It's the performance that you need to sort of put on, so you can separate the two.
I think you hit it right in the head where it's a comfort zone where, you know, when I'm behind the camera, you know, that's my space. I'm not actually speaking to millions of people. I can't see millions of people. I'm not interacting socially with millions of people.
If there was millions of people,
right. I'd be like, oh shit, you know. But the same thing, you know, when I'm speaking though, you know, the stage is kind of my comfort zone where I'm not really. Yes, there's people out there listening to me, but I don't have to like interact with them. I'm not really part of, you know, a group, you know, setting type of thing. So again, I know it's really weird, but I feel the exact same way when it comes to those types of situations. And it just takes some time to get over that. I remember the first night when I got into Austin, I saw some buddies that I hadn't seen in, gosh, you know, probably 3 or 4 years because of, you know, COVID and everything else that was happening. And good friends, I've known them for years, and you know, but I was still nervous going up to them and saying, "Hey guys, how's it going? Good to see you. Long time no chat." You know, because they're not part of my normal tribe day to day. And of course, you know, as soon as I start talking to them, you know, I'm a little bit awkward at first, but then all of a sudden it's just like boom, you know, back to normal. Like we haven't, you know, seen each other before. You know, we saw each other yesterday, basically is how it felt, and you know, sat down for a few hours and just, you know, caught up and all that good stuff. So I think that stuff is really helpful to kind of overcome and to get rid of your social anxiety around those types of situations, because at the end of the day, you know, when I meet people, when I'm more interactive, I'm more social, I feel better. I feel relieved. I feel like a sense of accomplishment. All those things definitely help out with just day-to-day aspects. And, you know, it's really weird. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but my recovery has been totally garbage the past couple of weeks. Just like 60%, 65%, 43%. And I got back from Austin and my recovery's been amazing. It's been like 95, 98, 97, 94, 98. And, you know, like, I mean, like, I don't know if it has anything to do with the social interaction with people and how we're dealing with things, or, you know, my sleep really hasn't changed. I've been, you know, continuously making sure I get at least, you know, 7 hours of sleep, you know, 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep a day. I've been eating properly, you know, so yeah, I don't really have a lot of logistical things that really varied other than the social interactions I've had with you guys in Nashville and with the interactions I had when I was in Austin. So, you know, it's interesting to see maybe that has an impact on your overall health and longevity too, based on social interaction and cues like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be sort of low level, like a stress almost. You know what I mean? That you probably don't recognize, that you're probably so used to. Okay, I'm going to go and speak to this event. This is how many people I'm speaking in front of. This is the sort of narrative, the way things are going to go, and you sort of have that, like you said, social anxiety that is an underlying stress. The sort of that you probably don't recognize as much, but obviously your body picks up on it. And it's actually the same. I don't know whether for me it was different because I was hosting the event and I had a lot of stuff going on in my head, but the same sort of thing, like resting heart rate was like 60, 60, 60, 60. And then this week whenever I got back, it was like 43, 45. So same sort of idea. Like it could be travel, it could be anything else, but generally I would say it's probably something to do with being in line with like a low lie or an underlying stress that we're probably not that aware of.
Yeah.
Which is a cool marker to have in terms of data.
Is.
Like, I mean, it's cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, so, you know, we're flying out to BrewCon, or I'm flying out to BrewCon tomorrow, Belgium. Be your first security conference. And I know we've already spotted. Yeah, and I know we've already started scoping out gyms of where to go and where to get our lifts in, and we're going to be doing a push day every single day, right?
We're going to do push, and then we're going to do chest, shoulders, and triceps, and then we're going to do
push again, and then chest, shoulders, and triceps. You got to interchange between them.
One actual concern that I have is, obviously there's a type of food in the UK, and there's a similar type of food in, like, culturally, there's a similar type of food in the US. I don't know what the food's going to be like in Belgium. So, like, obviously it's easy for me to transition to navigate food over here to navigate food in the US. I'm like, like, what way do they eat in Belgium? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it sort of like, it's, whenever you go to Europe,
I've been to Belgium, it's the same as in the UK.
I just imagine it's like big liters of beer and chocolate. That's what I have in my head.
Lots and lots of waffles, and you know, but no, they actually, I mean, food wise, I would say it's pretty much on par for what I am used to in the UK and everything else in the Europe side. You know, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm excited about the lifts. I'm excited about, you know, getting the speaking done over there and having a good time with some folks that I haven't seen in a while. I know.
And then you're coming here.
And then I'm coming to Belfast, which I'm really excited about, to get to meet Helmy, and we're hopefully train with Helmy. Get to meet your family.
So Helmy was at the event on Friday. So I got to catch up. I haven't seen him in a while. He is a socially awkward person too. It's so funny. But I had told him obviously that you're coming over, so we scheduled the session. And one thing actually I thought about is, do you want to go to a supplement store over here? Because obviously we have a GNC, so we'll go to a supplement store.
I
have a couple of nights. So I have dinner planned on Friday. I'm going to take you to my favourite place in Belfast.
Cannot wait.
Do that. And then obviously we'll train on Saturday with Helmy, and then we'll train Sunday separately. And you're going to get to come to like my mum's hosting a party. Like, that is, you're in with the family whenever you get to go.
That's awesome. I can't wait. Do I need to dress up, like, you know, or you know, do I need to, like, wear like a collared shirt or anything?
Well, it's my nephew's fifth birthday, and he's very excited about you coming. So I mean, you can take from that what you will. But yeah, I've got some cool stuff planned. So it's going to be a cool week of work stuff. And then we're going to come over and hang out in Belfast and look forward to it.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
There's no Orange Theory here, unfortunately, though. But we can go swimming in the sea, which you'll be so happy to know about.
So I was hoping you were going to forget about that, but I actually did pack some swim shorts just in case it did happen.
Good.
And but I was not going to bring it up. I was definitely not going to bring that up.
I was definitely not going to miss it. Like, there's no way. There's no way. No way you were getting away with it.
I was like, I hope you forgot about this. So I'm not. You know, I'm going to pack it just in case. But okay, I'm sorry to hear that you remembered that. That's
oh, my flights are canceled. Oh
yeah,
no.
Oh my gosh, it's like really bad outside right now, with the wind and everything. But no, it's. I look forward to it. I look forward to meeting your family and having a good time out there, and being able to get some lifts in, and you know, keep up with the calories and macros and our cutting phase and everything else there. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so update on that as well from me, from James. Happy with obviously being able to progress while traveling. I now have like 4.5 weeks until the end of October. Calories are still at maintenance, which was kind of a shock with me in the check-in, but he's happy with how everything's are. And then I imagine it will be a case of pull the pin for the last 4 weeks and really dial things in. So that'll be exciting. And then sort of, you know, the process from this point. I have my whole next, I guess, 11 months planned out, as do you. And I'm sort of starting to implement that with the guys across the board. In terms of, okay, right, we're going to have to navigate Thanksgiving, we're going to have to navigate Christmas, we're going to have to navigate moving into the new year and what that looks like in terms of phases. And I think the one thing that I've realized is I really feel comfortable in knowing the plan that far ahead. And because I've sort of spoken about it a bit, a couple of guys are coming back to me and be like, okay, you know, can I have that sort of plan outlined for X amount of months, whether it's a year or whatever it is. So it's cool to be able to see the different phases and how people want that for themselves, to sort of know, okay, right, I'm X amount of weeks or months in fat loss, X amount of weeks or months in surplus, weeks at maintenance. And I guess, you know, one of the biggest things that I want to make sure everybody is comfortable with is managing the holiday season. I guess probably sooner rather than later, we should do a podcast on how to navigate that and how to manage it. But generally, the way that I have it for the, you know, for the fat loss guys, we're in a deficit pretty much right up until the week before Thanksgiving. 2 weeks at maintenance, and then 2 weeks again in a deficit, and then 2 weeks into Christmas, and then we move into the new year. But the thing that I want to get from that is having them comfortable in the plan and it not being a shit show, and they knowing exactly what their allowance is and that it's okay to eat X, Y, Z amount of calories in that, instead of just arriving at Thanksgiving and being like, oh, fuck, and then you eat 10,000 calories and that's it.
You know, what I found useful during those periods of time that's helped with me is I just don't eat much. Like I'll eat like a couple protein shakes in the morning and afternoon, and then evening, you know, I fully expect to maybe eat like 1,000 calories or something like that. But I focus very heavily on protein centric stuff. So if they have like a ham there, for example, or turkey, things like that, I enjoy meats. So I'll typically just load up more on the meat side and keep less on like the casseroles and like the really fatty, you know, high carb, you know, high sugars type of stuff. So I fill up on that stuff. And what I find is that I actually get more fuller quicker based off of that. And I'm fuller longer. So I don't have to sit there and like literally destroy myself on the amount of food that I eat. Really kind of helps me manage those types of social events and everything else out there. So just a little bit of a tip, you know, if you're going into those situations, you know, load up on the meats. You know, the more meat, the better when it comes to protein. So, I mean, you're getting a protein intake.
Unless you're a vegetarian, then I wouldn't recommend eating meat.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea to go into.
It's actually the sort of, I guess the point on that is just because it's there doesn't mean you need to eat it. And I caught myself on so many times whenever I was in Nashville, whenever I was like roaming Nashville by myself, like there's so many things that I wanted to try and eat. And I was like, I could go and get this. And there was like a cookie dough place, and there was a ice cream place, and there was all sorts of fucking places with delicious food. And I was like, in real life, I would never go to these places. And just because it's there doesn't mean that I have to go. Like if I want to try it at a different time, that's absolutely fine. Or even things like big bags of M&Ms or Sour Patch Kids, like all this shit that these guys have over there that we don't necessarily get over here. I'm like a kid at Christmas looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I could go down a total rabbit hole and, you know, do 1,000 calories, 2,000 calories without even thinking about it, for no other reason of the fact that it's an option and it's there. I think that, you know, that's an important piece to note is, you know, you don't have to just because it's there, especially in like social events and social situations, because it's easy to sort of fall into the peer pressure trap where, you know, you want to have a drink because other people are having a drink, or you want to order dessert because other people are ordering a dessert, and, you know, whatever it is. Obviously all can be accounted for if you do want to do that, but you don't necessarily have to be peer pressured into doing it. I will shout out Rob for getting a liter of beer because I peer pressured him into it, but that was fine. It was all accounted for.
A liter of beer, huh? Again, I think, you know, the discipline and understanding what you're putting in your body is really important. And even if you're not eating, counting calories during that period of time, you know, just understanding like, listen, hey, I'm going into this. I've probably had roughly around 500 calories today, and I probably maybe only have maybe, you know, 1,500 or two, you know, left to be able to deal with. You know, going into those situations, knowing, well, hey, if I, you know, eat a ton of cake and stuff like that, it's probably not going to be good for me. Let's focus on eating some stuff. And it's, you know, it's same thing at dinner. You know, like you had those options available when we were in Nashville to eat whatever you wanted to. And, you know, I had a salad with double steak. You know, I wanted the extra protein. And that's what I really focused on. And there was a ton of other stuff there. You know, a lot of folks were eating tacos, which were really good. They were really, you know, small tacos. Yeah, they were really good.
But I had a side of asparagus and corn. And it was really good.
So I think managing your calories when you eat and understanding that, hey, maybe I'm not going to be able to get 100% spot on to what I'm going to do today, but it's going to be pretty darn close. And I'm still maintaining the type of healthy lifestyle that I want to, I think really ultimately makes you successful in this journey. And when you're doing this travel, or when you're doing the holidays, or when you're doing whatever, you know, just having those in mind as you're going through, and not just totally, you know, crap in the bed and gaining 15 pounds over the holidays. You know, instead, I'd like to say like, hey, I lost 10 pounds over the holidays, or, you know, hey, I gained 5 pounds of muscle mass over the holidays because all the protein I was eating or whatever, you know, so, you know, hey, whatever, you know, but I think those are the things that you should be really conscious of during these times of the year. And as you start getting more with family, travel, things like that.
Yeah. I think to recap, the biggest thing when it comes to, we'll talk about travel because we can do a whole holiday season episode. Whenever it comes to travel, prepare for it beforehand. So yes, okay, you can sort of zoom out from a daily to a weekly, but, you know, zoom out from a weekly to a monthly. If you know you're away for a week within a month, you know that you can pull back on calories for 3 weeks of that to sort of give you a bit of an allowance towards the end of the month. Look at your schedule in terms of when you're going to be away, what that actually includes. Can you fit your regular routine in terms of cardio and training? If not, can you do some sort of modified version of it? Is there a hotel in the gym, or is there a gym in the hotel, or do you have to go and train elsewhere? is there somewhere you can do your cardio? Is there somewhere you can sort of fit in your steps? Do you need to get up slightly earlier because you're going to be working the entire day? Like I got up one morning at 4 a.m. so I could get my check-ins done before we started actually, coaching and whatever else, and shut out the Bill who was asleep in the sofa, and I was doing my check-ins in the corner. But, what do you need to do to be able to navigate the time away? Do you need to pull back on calories because there's some days that you're going to be more in control than others? Do you need to pull back on meals on specific days because there's some that you're more in control of others? Do you need to change your eating window? Do you need to just focus on protein? Like there's so many different tools and things that you can play about with to make sure you can navigate travel, that it doesn't need to be total dickhead mode as soon as you step off the plane. Because I think I have definitely been guilty of that before. Even whenever I was in London for the day, like I'm usually, I go out for breakfast, then I go and have a snack, then I have a donut, then I train, and then I have a post-workout donut, and then I go out for, waffles or ice cream or something like that, and then I have dinner, and I've eaten like 9,000 calories in the day. I just had to navigate it differently because I didn't want to feel a certain way. And, eating to the point where you're full and not like the night that we went to pharmacy for the burger, I didn't finish my burger because I wasn't overly hungry. Whereas before I would have just finished it because it was sitting in front of me. So, just a bit of a change in eating habits as well, I think is massively important. But yeah, zooming out, making sure you can navigate things differently. Don't eat things just because they're there. Make better choices whenever you're out, and don't be afraid to be the awkward person with the menu if you need to change or swap things out. And actually some of the stuff that we can have that's slightly lower calories is probably makes you feel better throughout the day.
Yep, that's what it's all about, balance. And, I think that's a good testament to anything in life. Everything is a balance. Anything can be overly consumed. Even in the sports industry, testosterone can be overconsumed. Supplements can be overconsumed. The amount of
not like
can
us
be
overconsume on supplements.
Yes, we need to do a whole deep dive on my switch over to Merrick and what that means for my vitamins. I think it'd be a good one. Just the detail and blood work, but also like the amount of supplements I need to control because like they're like, hey, here's everything. I'm like, everything sounds awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Like,
this is what we would recommend, but you don't have to have it all. Okay, I'll take it all.
I'll take it all. And then is there any extra you recommend on top of that? So, I need to really take a look at what I'm taking there. But just like, they have garlic, they have vitamin C and vitamin D and all this other stuff, which I already take a lot of that stuff. But it was just like, hey, it was really cool. But we'll do a deep dive on Merrick and blood work and, my new program.
Can I say as well, actually, that now that it's in my mind, like,
yeah,
if you're in America and you have a Whole Foods, now, granted, I know it's a bit more expensive, but I went to Whole Foods every day after you all left that I was in Nashville. I was like, I can eat here and like 100% stick to my calories. Like it would be so fucking easy to do.
Yeah.
Again, as I said, granted, it's a little bit more expensive, but if you're traveling, you can go and you just need to grab something like that. Maple roasted turkey slices, whatever I had was delicious, but they have endless amounts of things that you can have that sort of allow you to stay in line with your calories.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You absolutely have the ability to eat healthy with anything around here. There's healthy options everywhere. You also have very unhealthy options. So I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out what's the best for you. Like usually when I'm going to go, if I'm traveling, for another good example, if I'm traveling and I'm looking for a place to eat, the first thing I do is I check the menu to see, is there anything on there that I could use? Is there like, double breasted chicken or, chicken breasts, or things, salads, things that I can eat that are going to be relatively healthy for me. So I pre-plan my eating based off of what I need and not necessarily what's out of convenience. And I think that's an important thing. Like when I walk around the airports, if I don't find a place that is like healthy themed, and has like decent menus and things like that, I won't eat at the airport because I'd rather not sacrifice a bunch of crap, and feel like garbage the rest of the day. I'd rather just sit there and kind of plan accordingly.
Yeah. And I think one thing I noticed as well is the majority of places that we ate in had calories on the menu, which was a good shout too. And also I got the experience Chick-fil-A because that's obviously been the chat within the family chat about you can definitely eat Chick-fil-A and it's relatively good macros. So I have my experience of that. The naked nuggets is just like cut up chicken breast. So, if you're struggling for protein, you can just literally go and get those. And it was actually a pretty decent flavor. And even the breaded chicken nuggets, the macros and the calories are not that bad. So, if you're stuck and you're in an airport or you're on the go, Chipotle, number one, Chick-fil-A, number two, like all these things can be managed. You don't need to, obviously there are options within those places that you can consume a lot of calories. But again, if you're a bit smart about it, you can navigate, having high protein, low calorie meals as you are on the move.
Well, another great podcast in the books. I just want to say shout out to all the folks that came out there and put in the work. I mean, so many good people, kind-hearted, just amazing, wanting to help one another, uplift one another, and it was really cool to see that. I think you did this a lot differently than last time, where it was kind of one-on-one sessions where you kind of broke things down. And this way, we were able to kind of go into groups and build bonds with different people and things like that. And I think that was ultimately really successful. So overall, congratulations on having a successful event in Nashville. I thought that was really awesome, and hopefully many more of those to come, and more folks, being added to that. And maybe we'll break out into 5 sessions or 6 sessions or whatever it ends up being. But I
already have good plans for the next one, that we can get more stuff done in the time that we're together. Like, I think I'm a always want more kind of person. So each event that we do and put on will hopefully be bigger and better. So I'm looking forward to the 2 or 3 that I have planned for next year.
Well, and I just want to personally thank you for setting that up and arranging it and giving us an opportunity to be able to do that. I mean, you had basically already had it catered for Topgolf and already taken care of and all this other stuff. I mean, that was really awesome for you to do above and beyond. I mean, that's not something that you're like, hey, this is part of the package of what we do. You do this because you care about people, you care about the group, you care about the success of everybody. You wanted to see that all come together. So, I hope people understand, like, hey, Ben basically went out of his own pocket, to go and put these types of things on with everybody. And, it wasn't something that was part of, the normal, type of rigor or more that you get as part of a personal trainer. It was above and beyond that. And so I really appreciated that. I know everybody else did, but it was really awesome to see that.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed. And I think, by now, I didn't want to ever just be a personal trainer. So to be able to do something a little bit extra was always on the cards. And I'll finish with the story that I could not help but think about my client Denise whenever I was cooking breakfast for everybody on the Friday morning. For as long as I can remember, when I coached her in the gym floor, she was like, you should just do a week away boot camp, like Real Attitude, like, and you can cook all our food and we'll just train, and that'll be great because you're a really good cook. And I was like, I'm never going to do that. That sounds fucking hectic. And then there I was cooking for everybody on the Saturday morning. I was like, God damn Denise. So I don't know if Denise is listening, but shout out to Denise, because that was exactly the sort of event that she would have loved to have been to.
Yeah. And Daniel's hospitality.
Yes, a shout out to Daniel for sort of helping me organize everything. And one thing that I didn't want to be was like be a tourist in Nashville. So having someone who lived there, who could show me sort of the other side of things and do things that aren't necessarily super touristy. Yeah. Was cool for sure. So shout out to Daniel.
Yep. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Another great week. Catch us again next week for our next episode of our podcast. We really appreciate all of our listeners tuning in, and keep sharing us. Community's growing. Hit us up on Discord. We Hack Health on Discord. WeHack.health on our website. We Hack Health on Twitter. Pretty much everywhere. Hit us up and share with your friends and family that you think would benefit from it. But again, we appreciate all of our listeners and keeping us motivated as well. It's great to see all of our successes and the hashtags and all that good stuff coming through. So thank you again, and later.
See you next week.
See you next week.